The Valeran invasion fleet descended on Milbrook, Tennessee at dawn on a Tuesday. According to their strategic calculations, the small town of 12,000 people would be eliminated in approximately 47 minutes. The Valerans were efficient, methodical, and had conquered 43 civilizations using the same tactics they were about to employ on this backwater Earth settlement. Commander Vex watched from the flagship as plasma cannons powered up. The town didn't stand a chance. What the Valerans didn't know, what their extensive reconnaissance had somehow missed, was that Milbrook was 73% inhabited by 4th and 5th generation residents who had spent their entire lives hunting, fishing, and maintaining firearms as a cultural tradition. The town had more guns than people, more hunting rifles than roads, more ammunition than sense, according to most urban Americans. What happened next became known as the Milbrook incident, and it would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for the next 100 years, as an example of how tactical superiority means nothing when your enemy has absolutely nothing to lose and no concept of surrender. The first plasma strike hit the town square. It vaporized a statue of the town's founder and knocked over the Confederate monument that the town council had been arguing about for 5 years. "Well, hell," said Buck Morrison, who was sitting on the porch of Morrison's hardware store with his cousin Dale and their friend Travis. Buck was 73 years old, had survived 2 divorces, 3 recessions, and 1 heart attack. He'd never been intimidated by anything in his life, and he certainly wasn't about to start with some aliens. "They're going to regret that," Travis said, spitting tobacco juice onto the dirt. Travis had been a sharpshooter in the Marines before returning to Milbrook to run his daddy's gun range. He could shoot the wings off a mosquito at 300 yards. By the time the Valerian ground troops descended, 10,000 soldiers in advanced tactical armor, Buck had already organized the town's response. Not through any official emergency protocol, but simply by standing on the front steps of his hardware store and saying, "Well, boys, looks like we got ourselves an invasion. Let's go get our guns." Milbrook's population of mostly retired folks, college dropouts, truck drivers, and lifelong hunters responded with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for hunting season. What ensued was not a tactical battle. It was chaos. Beautiful, magnificent chaos. The Valerans had trained for conventional warfare against organized military forces. They understood rank structures, command hierarchies, and logical military doctrine. They did not understand what happened when they encountered Americans who viewed the situation as essentially a giant, extremely hostile hunting expedition. Buck and Dale set up positions in the grain elevator, using it as a sniper's nest. They'd hunted together for 50 years and could move as a coordinated unit without speaking. Travis established a secondary position in the water tower with 2 former Army Rangers who retired to Milbrook to open a bar. Jennifer Matthews, a woman who'd won the state shooting championship 4 years running, positioned herself on the roof of the county courthouse with a bolt-action rifle that had belonged to her grandfather. The Valeran soldiers expected coordinated defensive formations. Instead, they got ambushed from directions they didn't even know existed. From rooftops, from the woods, from basement windows. The humans didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like hunters stalking prey using cover and concealment that the Valerian tactical computers had somehow failed to register. "We're experiencing unexpected resistance," Commander Vex reported to his superiors. "Casualty rates are higher than anticipated." What was actually happening was that the Valerian invaders were being systematically hunted. Buck Morrison, who'd spent the last 40 years hunting deer in the forest adjacent to Milbrook, knew exactly how to move through terrain without being detected. He understood wind direction, sight lines, and how to use natural cover. The Valerian soldiers, trained for urban combat and open warfare, were completely outmatched in a fundamentally different kind of conflict. By noon, the Valerans had lost 3,000 soldiers. "This is impossible," Vex muttered. "How is a civilian population defeating a professional military force?" The answer was simple. The Valerans weren't fighting a military force. They were fighting people who viewed combat as just another form of hunting, and who had spent their entire lives perfecting the art of stalking and killing moving targets. Travis established a communication link with the alien commander. Not to negotiate, just to explain the situation. "Y'all picked the wrong town," Travis said through a megaphone. You're fighting people who've spent 50 years hunting everything from squirrels to 12-point bucks. You think your fancy armor and plasma weapons scare us? We hunt animals that could tear a car in half. You're basically just big, slow-moving targets. There was a long pause from the alien commander. What do you want? Vex asked, defeated. Well, Buck said, now sharing the megaphone with Travis, you're going to leave. You're going to get back in your fancy spaceships, and you're going to leave Earth alone. And you're going to tell every other alien species out there that Milbrook, Tennessee is off limits. And if we refuse? Vex asked, more out of professional obligation than any actual hope. Then we keep hunting, Jennifer Matthews said, firing a shot that took down a Valeran drone hovering above the town square. And trust me, we're just getting warmed up. It's not even hunting season yet, and y'all are already looking pretty grim. What happened next was unprecedented in galactic military history. A species with interstellar technology, advanced weaponry, and superior tactical training surrendered to a town of rednecks. The Valerian fleet departed within the hour, taking their surviving soldiers and leaving behind a military force that had been defeated not by superior technology, but by people who understood something fundamental about warfare that the Valerans had never learned. Sometimes the most effective military tactics aren't found in textbooks. They're found in the woods, passed down through generations of hunters who understand how to survive, adapt, and overcome. In the weeks that followed, word spread across the galaxy. Milbrook, Tennessee, had defeated an alien invasion. The story was embellished with each retelling, but the essential truth remained. Humans, specifically the rural, supposedly unsophisticated humans that galactic observers had dismissed as primitive, had proven to be far more formidable than anyone had anticipated. Buck Morrison became something of a galactic celebrity. He was interviewed by news outlets across the known universe. When asked the secret to his victory, Buck simply shrugged. Wasn't nothing special, he said. We just treated it like hunting, and we're real good at hunting. The Valeran commander, Vex, submitted a formal report to his superiors that became classified and then inevitably leaked across the galaxy. His conclusion was simple. Do not underestimate Earth. Specifically, do not invade the southern United States. The residents are apex predators who view combat as sport, and they are disturbingly good at it. Back in Milbrook, life returned to normal. Buck and Dale went back to sitting on the porch. Travis returned to running his gun range. Jennifer won the state shooting championship again. And when hunters from across America started showing up in Milbrook to learn from the people who defeated an alien invasion, well, they just figured it was hunting season. And there was nothing Milbrook loved more than hunting season. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They'd assumed that technological superiority meant military superiority. They hadn't accounted for what happened when you invaded a town where the average citizen could hit a moving target from 500 yards away while sitting in a tree in the dark. Milbrook, Tennessee had become the only town on Earth to successfully defend against an extraterrestrial invasion. And somehow nobody was surprised.